Welcome to the Insightful Astrology Podcast, where life is written in the stars, but you get to edit the script. Making astrology come alive, here's your host, Maria Simone.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Insightful Astrology Podcast. It's Maria Simone, your host. And today we're going to get back to talking about astrology. I know some of you guys, who listen to the podcast, you're like, this girl is all over the place sometimes with what she talks about, because I am interested in everything metaphysical, everything psychological, and how that connects to our soul and our journey and spirituality. And so, I don't always have pure astrology shows. And today actually might not be a pure astrology show, but but let me tell you, me and my guest is an astrologer. I'm going to introduce her in a second. She's laughing. But we are going to cover the most significant astrological cycle of 2021, which is the Saturn-Uranus square. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to bring on my guest. She is an Insightful Astrology Podcast favorite. She's been on, I think, 3 times. This might be your 4th. I lose count. But Aliza Einhorn is one of my favorite astrologers and mystics. Okay, let me tell you, because I love her delivery. I love her style. She is an incredible writer. So what this lady has been up to during COVID times is she not only moved back to New York, but she wrote a new book, and it is called A Mystical, Practical Guide to Magic, Instructions for Seekers, Witches, and Other Spiritual Misfits. I love the spiritual misfit part, and I'm sure a lot of you connect with that. But this book is going to be released on July 8th. It is available now for pre-order everywhere books are sold, so go check that out. And I want to bring on Aliza right now because she's going to tell us what else she's been up to. Aliza Einhorn, welcome back to the show. Hi, honey.
Oh, hey, Maria. I'm just grinning here. I'm so excited to connect with you again.
Oh, me too. Okay, and thank you for this book. I'm looking through this book now. Let me just tell all of you guys why you should order this book. It is first of all written in such a personal style that just draws you in, and it is educational on, it seems like it's educational for every aspect of mysticism, but your particular slant and advice and insights and nuggets and how to really apply all of this to help you become the most empowered spiritual misfit is what I'm getting from this book. Was that your goal, or you tell me?
I like how you put that. Wait, sorry. I have a landline that's ringing in the other room and it's distracting the hell out of me. And
I don't hear it at all.
I never use that phone, so I'm like,
why is somebody calling?
Yes, there's a ghost calling.
Of course.
Right when you're talking about the mystical life. Well, I feel like the book presents things like astrology, tarot, meditation, even writing practice, moon Pluto magic, because they might be interesting to you. They might not, they might be part of your spiritual path. They might not, but mainly what they can do is they can help you figure out your spirituality. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically help you figure out what you resonate to, what you're drawn to, and then you pick your poison, and then that poison becomes your magical potion.
Yes.
Towards spiritual enlightenment.
And I even say that at the start of the book, that I don't even use the word enlightenment. I think for a lot of people, like what the hell is that? Enlightenment or awakening? Point. Like these are these big words. So I try to bring this stuff down to earth, because it really is down to earth for me. It's all daily life. But the practices themselves, they might stick with you forever. Like you could fall in love with astrology, just like I fell in love with astrology, or fall in love with magic. Or you might think, nah, this is very nice, but no, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that once somebody falls in love with one spiritual practice, one, you can't help but be curious about others. And so I love that this book is kind of like an all-encompassing guide. Everybody should really get it. Please get it. And
Oh.
Aliza, you've got your own little podcast. I love how you refer
tiny.
to yourself as she's the
tiny
Jewish witch. I love this. Tell us about this.
Oh, I want to say too, I feel woefully inarticulate this morning talking about the book. You're actually the first one that I've talked to about it, like besides them, besides the publisher, besides friends or conversations I have with myself. So I'm like, I don't know what it's about, Maria. you tell them what it's about. I don't know.
Oh, that's okay, because that's how I'm gonna feel when we get to talk about the Saturn-Uranus square.
Oh,
yeah, you're gonna make fun of me.
I brought a cheat sheet. And I also I know I didn't answer the question you asked, but I'm dying to know with you as a Taurus, like what the hell you're going through with this. But I call like the little podcast that could, or whenever I make an episode, I say, that it's for the 5 people who are listening. Like it's really small. I call it my lo-fi casual podcast. And it kind of really got going during the early months of COVID, like the first lockdowns in New York, when we really didn't know what was going on. Like it was all just sort of shocking and crazy. And I would just sit at my window, telling people, well, there's, it's windy, the leaves are blowing. Oh, look, a man crossing the street. Like just this sense of no action and what the hell is happening in the world. And people since then had told me that those were some of their favorite episodes, where I'm just kind of being with them, talking about nothing.
About the ghost town world that we lived in.
Yeah. But I walk and talk. People seem to like that too. Like I walk around Brooklyn and I'll talk about astrology, transits that are going on, or stray thoughts, or about writing. Like it really is just like your pal who's come to leave a long-winded voicemail for you. That's really what it is.
You know what? I love it, because I feel like that's how my podcast ends up half of the time, because it's called the Insightful Astrology Podcast, but everybody knows it's like a crapshoot every time I talk to somebody. It's not always just about astrology. So where can people hear your podcast?
Oh, well, I do it on Anchor. So it's totally DIY. It's just an app, and then they distribute it. So I think most of my listeners come from Spotify. I'm woefully technically incompetent, but I know enough to look at the little page that says most of your listeners come from Spotify. But I think it's everywhere. Like it's on Apple Podcasts. They have their distribution thing.
So anywhere podcasts are heard.
Yeah.
The name of the podcast is?
It's Aliza of Brooklyn, the Jewish Witch podcast.
Aliza of Brooklyn, the Jewish Witch.
Yeah, that's my Twitter handle.
I love it.
Oh, no, it's my Instagram handle. One of those.
And speaking of that, please tell people how they can get in touch with you for readings, for astrology readings, tarot readings, and whatever else you're doing these days.
Okay, yeah. Well, moonplutoastrology.com. That's my site. So they can go. I don't blog so much anymore, but I still have my same blog is there, like all the old entries back from 2011. But on that page, on the site, there's readings and all the details, the price, a little bit about who I am, and the pages are always under construction.
Just like we are, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the site is a reflection of our souls. We are under construction.
And I just want to say, for anybody listening for the first time, if you have not heard Aliza before, please do not underestimate this woman. You have no idea how much of a witch she really is. I mean that, and it's a total compliment, because she is so psychic. You're so spiritually aware, like how you connect the dots in your readings. And so go book a reading with her. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. Yeah, and
I appreciate that.
Oh,
and you're saying that because I sound like such a goofball right now. You're like, okay, we know.
No, I'm saying that because nobody's heard your voice in over a year and a half on the show, and so people may have never heard of you before, and I want them to know how awesome you are. And also, you have another book, The Little Book of Saturn. So Aliza wrote this book, I don't know, 3 years ago, the Saturn book?
Yeah, that one came out 2018. Saturn came out, I remember the book party well. That was a nice night. Yeah, summer of 2018, and then this one, summer of 2021.
Awesome. So go check out that book as well if you want to learn more about your Saturn placement. And speaking of Saturn,
Uh-oh.
bump, bump. Okay, so we've never talked about this on the podcast before, and Aliza suggested it. I was like, you know what? It's so funny because initially I was resistant, and then I knew why I was resistant because it's, changing my life.
That's what I was thinking. I even went and looked back because you know what happened was I was just on YouTube. I'm a big YouTube watcher, listener, and I ran into, even though I'm subscribed to your channel, they don't always show it to me. And then I was listening to my Virgo, because I'm Virgo rising, listening to my forecast. I, oh my God, Maria, I've got to get in touch with her. I got to, because I didn't even know if you took a hiatus. I couldn't remember if you were still doing the show, because I know you had stopped for a while, I think.
I stopped for a little more than a year, about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
like you disappeared. I kind of disappeared, in
Yeah.
different ways. And so it's, I'm glad that we found each other again. And so let's talk about the Saturn-Uranus square and why I resisted it. And then you tell me, about you. So Aliza said, let's talk about the Saturn-Uranus square and how it affects everybody, and then let's talk about it in our own charts. And I'm like, oh my God, this bitch is gonna give me homework and make me freaking self-reflect on this. This is my Achilles heel in life right now, Aliza. But it's okay. It's a good thing.
And we both have Mars in Cancer, so
yes, yeah. Well, you know what? I love the fact that Uranus is sextile my Mars in Cancer. That makes me happy. That's I don't know where your Mars in Cancer is, but it's sextiling mine right now, Uranus. So that's a nice thing. But okay, so guys, I'm not so sure. I think I may hand this over to you.
I'm ready.
I'm just going to mention one thing. I do have the dates because I started doing my June forecasts. And so we are going to get another exact mathematical hit of Saturn in Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus on June 14th. Just so you guys know, we had the first one on February 17th and the second one will be June 14th. So it is coming up. It's very relevant. And the final hit of this exact square happens on December 24th. And so
just in time for the holidays.
December, seriously, just in time for the holidays. And it's around 7 degrees or so of the fixed signs. That was the February hit. The June hit is going to be around 13 of the fixed signs, Aquarius and Taurus. And then the final hit at the end of December, it'll be about 11. So those are, it's kind of like, middle range of these fixed signs are all going to get hit at some point with this Saturn Uranus really, really frustrating energy that I want to smack. But Aliza, please tell us about it.
Well, I would like to break it down a little because I think it can get sort of complicated. Like, how do we analyze the planets, the signs, the square? Like it can really grow out of control, I think. Even when a professional astrologer thinks about it, they're like, how do I start to talk about this? Mm-hmm. And I had actually done these readings for people at the start of the year, analyzing this in their charts, like it was a targeted, we're going to talk about Saturn, Uranus, and nothing else, So I had these notes. So I started looking through my notes again to bring my memories back of thinking about this. And I want to talk about two main ways. And this is quick. But the first main way to think about the Saturn-Uranus square is, I'm always quoting Isabel Hickey, who I think just wrote one book, one astrology book. And she says in that book that Saturn builds and Uranus breaks. And I always remember this quote. And I feel like that is the essence of this, really, no matter what sign they're in.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, adding in the sign and, everything else adds layers and layers and layers. But just very purely with the planets, Saturn's got one agenda, Uranus has this completely other agenda, and the square is a struggle. So
breaking, building, breaking. How do you build when it's constantly breaking?
Yeah, and all year. I mean, I consider this square active all year. And like you said, there's 3 exact hits, but I feel like they're pretty close together in degree. But I feel like we're just living, it's like a tent, a Saturn-Uranus jamboree. We're all in it together, and we can't get out. We're locked in it. We're locked in this power struggle of stasis versus change. And so that's big picture to me. That's the collective. And I'm sure you can immediately think of like, 50 ways that you see this in the world. But then personally, I see it even more as Saturn is what you've got to do, like your duties, your responsibilities. For you, I mean, it could be anything. It could be work. It could be whatever it is that kind of it roots you to the earth, but it can kind of drag you down. Like, oh, I have to go mop the floor again. I don't know why I'm thinking of housework, but I keep getting like housework images. Versus the Uranian energy, which I feel is the thing you really want to do, this freedom and this liberation. And even going back to that word enlightenment, like, I want to be spiritually enlightened, but I got to mop the floor. It's that tension that I think is working itself out in all our charts in a very personal, individual level. I don't know if this is still the truth, but I used to feel like a lot of the time astrologers would look at these, big transits with outer planets as not so personal, but I feel it's really personal and we really, really feel it. So you got to know where this is happening for you. And another thing is it can spin out into chaos. Like it's not just things falling apart, or I want to be free and I want to go on my path. This power struggle between feeling grounded, feeling rooted versus chaos and just spinning out of control. That's part of it too.
Yes, that's a really good point. And it's also a good point that it really is affecting us all year long, because Saturn and Uranus don't get too far away from each other in this square dynamic that they're doing. So yes, it's an all year thing. If you do have planets in your in your personal birth chart that are plugging into the Saturn Uranus square, then I think that your life is going to be more pressurized and stressed out than maybe someone who just, I don't know, has all mutable energy in their chart. I don't know, well, lucky them. But I mean, I feel this in so many ways that it is actually physically uncomfortable for me to even talk about, which is why I'm so glad you're forcing me to talk about it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're saying that.
It is, because it's the kind of thing that I've been trying to ignore in my life. And as well as I do, that what you're trying to ignore is what you really have to pay attention to. Otherwise, you're not going to grow. And you can't really ignore it, because with Uranus is just going to make chaos, and you can't ignore the volcano erupting. Otherwise, you're going to die.
Yeah,
So
gonna make a mess.
yeah, seriously. So, all right. So Saturn is in Aquarius. Before I talk about it personally, do you want to say anything about the fact that Saturn is in the sign Aquarius versus Uranus in Taurus, or do you want to just stick with the build break analogy?
I'm thinking. I think it's scary. When I think of Saturn in Aquarius, I feel a little scared. I mean, just in and of itself. I mean, forget even about the square to Taurus. In and of itself, I find it a bit of a frightening energy, because Aquarius is so idealistic, which then can slide towards the authoritarian. That I find it to be a very foreboding placement.
Yes, I had an Aquarius mother. So the thing about Aquarius is, and I'm a Taurus. My son is in Taurus, right? So my mom was an Aquarius sun, I'm a Taurus sun. And so, the thing is, when you have sun signs in square, it's you really don't see each other. Okay? You don't, there is that inherent inability to really see the other energy for what it is and appreciate it, I guess. Okay, appreciate it. So I always crashed into the Aquarius part. My mother would always crash into the Taurus part, right? Now, my mother is my mother. She's Saturn. So I'm just thinking about this in the sense that, Saturn and Aquarius collectively, it's this. I think the problem with Aquarius energy is that because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus, it can be it is all the time this Saturn square Uranus energy by itself, meaning it puts itself in its own prison. Okay. And Aquarius, my first astrology teacher taught me about Aquarius and said this about Aquarius. She said, Aquarius can be the most schizophrenic sign in the zodiac, because the problem with Aquarius is that they will not subscribe to anyone else's rules or traditions. They want to go their own way, and they will go their own way. But because it is a fixed sign, they will end up putting themselves in their own box and with their own rules, and then they get stuck there. So that's the Saturn part. Okay, the Uranus part is, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to follow you, but I'm going to put myself in this box and mop the floor with a toothbrush, scrub the floor with a toothbrush, and never come out. And there is that fear with that of, how am I going to be free to express my individuality if I am trapped in whatever I thought my individuality was supposed to be? And I don't know if I'm getting philosophical or if I'm babbling.
Feel that. That's really deep. I feel that. It reminds me of the Eight of Swords from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, like this self-imposed prison.
Yeah.
They can't get out. I see what you're saying. I think that's really brilliant. Like the square that's happening now is Aquarius every day of the week, basically.
Yeah, so that's how I would look at my mother. But my just Aquarius energy living within Aquarius, and so she was this innovative, visionary rebel, but boy, was she in her own prison. And so that is Saturn and Aquarius, and now Uranus is squaring that Saturn, saying, all right, wise guy, I'm gonna force you out of that prison that you've built for yourself. That, yes, it built you this great structure that you have something to show for it physically, because we do have something physically to show for our structures, but you're now a dinosaur. You're no longer relevant. That's where my fear is, Aliza. This is how this is affecting me. So I'm going to go into that now, and then you tell us about you. So here's how it's affecting my chart. Uranus is in Taurus, and it's not exactly conjunct my sun sign yet. It's coming close though. And Saturn is in Aquarius. So Saturn is it's kind of straddling my 11th house cusp. The exact hits of this, it's been straddling the end of my 10th house going into my 11th, mostly my 11th, and Uranus is in my first house of self and identity. And what I am being confronted with over and over again now as a 47-year-old astrologer who has built a very successful business online, right? Technology, Uranus, but who, like you, Aliza, is a complete, well, I am. I'm not saying this about you. I am a complete idiot. I really am a total idiot in technology. Such an idiot in technology that I can't even get Zoom to work. Everybody and their mother's using Zoom, and I'm having problems with Zoom that I still have to use Skype. Okay.
Are you Pluto and Libra? You're a different generation. Okay, because I'm Gen X. I'm Pluto and Virgo.
Yeah, Pluto and Libra in the sixth house. And so my so I think that for me on a mundane level is that I have built Saturn in Aquarius a stable, relatively successful business and reputation for myself as an astrologer that I thought was rock solid. Okay. I've been using the same astrology software for 100 years. I've been doing my work the same way for 100 years, not 100 years, but you get the picture.
Such a Taurus.
Yes. And the same way. And I am now things are being thrown towards me professionally that are making me aware that if I do not get with the times, and if I can't keep up, that the structure that I built, where I'm so busy mopping the floor for my business, you can't mop the floor anymore because everybody's using a different tool to clean floors these days. So mopping the floor, nobody wants to mop the floor the way that I mop the floor. And this comes in different ways. Like, for example, on my YouTube channel very recently, I have been getting so many comments about the problem with audio that I've been having. Okay, this is a technology Uranus issue. I'm hearing it. This is the Uranus and Taurus, the Taurus part. I am reading these comments and I am absorbing it, and I understand that this is a problem, but I'm so stuck in fixing the problem because I can't change. I can't get, I cannot grow. I cannot seem to get out of the box that I'm in. And so I've been letting it go, letting it go, letting it go. Finally, my webmaster says to me, Maria, get this microphone, please. And she sends me a link. And
Oh,
she's like, if you have a problem, I will walk you through it. We will do a test. You have to do it. I was like, okay, thank you, Pam. So I go and I buy the Yeti microphone, and it just solved all of my problems. And it was the easiest thing in the world. I thought it was, I avoided it, Aliza, because I thought that this was going to be so
oh.
hard.
I feel, you know what? I bought one and never used it. I just
Okay.
left YouTube altogether.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Well, maybe this is how it's hitting your chart too. But this is really where my problems are right now, as far as
Mhm.
business and that whole. I know that I have to level up technologically, and I have to grow in our industry to keep not to keep up, because I don't care about keeping up with other people,
Yeah.
but it's more about serving the the craft itself. It's evolving, okay? And I am a dinosaur. I'm the
Yeah.
older astrologer. I'm not the 20 something astrologer that's that are out there. And so that's my issue big time with Saturn square Uranus as far as business. And that's that. What about you?
Well, I want to say I'm getting such chills right now listening to you, because this was the first topic I was going to suggest for this show was let's talk about how the business has changed. And I
Mhm.
wasn't even thinking about Saturn and Uranus because I think we both started around the same time,
Mhm.
but took these different paths. And
Yeah.
that, like, what you're talking about now is literally what was on my mind. Like, let's talk about that.
Wow.
So we did anyway. Yeah, I'm covered in chills, and I feel for you. Yeah, I have that freaking microphone on a book. I dust it off every once in a while. I have never used it, and I like hearing about your path because I'm moving in a different direction,
Mhm.
rather than rising to the occasion. I'm experiencing something that's different. But so in my own chart, it's a it's a little bit of a question because of house system. Because I mean, I've been using Placidus
Mhm.
forever, although I spent some time in the whole sign trenches and a little time in equal, as
Mhm.
astrologers do. But my cusp for Aquarius is 12.
Okay.
So I still think to myself, is Saturn in my fifth or is it in my sixth? Is it in both? Where do I read it? I mean, Uranus for me is totally in my ninth. That's
Okay.
100%, no matter where we look at it. And I could, that could be 10 podcasts, what Pluto and Saturn have done to my fifth house, to my love life. Wouldn't that be entertaining? Not
Oh,
really, but
we got to
it's
get some of that in.
oh yeah, but is Saturn still there or is it in my sixth? So it's that's a question that I have for myself. Um,
Where do you feel it the most?
well, I still feel it in my fifth. I feel like I still feel it in my fifth, but I feel like the sixth house is you know what? I feel it in both. I do feel it
Both.
in both because all I want to do, I'm working on a third book. All I want to do is work on it. I want to
Okay.
write it. It's like it's a proposal that I want to find a home, an
Uh-huh.
agent, a publisher.
Gotcha.
And that's my entire fetching is I just want to write. But oh, I have to, again, with the mop the floor thing, I gotta mop the floor. I have to feed myself. I have to,
Mhm.
and then COVID, it's like
Mhm.
all these new realities that we're living in daily life, sixth house. And then my health has been kind of wacky. So all the
Mhm.
daily routines, when I just want to do this thing.
When you just want to write the book, the ninth house, you just want to be
Yeah,
there and
freedom. I want that
free.
Uranian seamless, unfettered time. And I've got an 11th house stellium in my natal. So, and I have kind of a weird natal Uranus, but there's all this like, I need to create my own schedule or I will become the Incredible Hulk. Like the fact that we
Mhm.
even did this, because I think there were even times where we had scheduled and I would get sick. Like I know that we had a
Right.
few successful shows, but there were times where it's like, I think I had a kidney stone one time. Like I actually made
Oh
a
my God.
hospital visit. Like there were times
Really?
where when I try to schedule um, things, which, everyone needs to do, right? To live like a normal life. You have this schedule. It's like, I need the minimum amount.
Okay. And
So
that's
I'm
just
fighting with that. I'm fighting with that because Saturn's like, yeah, but you have to work or you can't eat. You can't pay your rent if you don't work.
This is not an easy energy. I mean, you guys listening,
No.
where the struggle is real for me and
Extremely
Aliza.
disruptive. Yeah. So it's real for all them too, and they might not know, like,
Right, where, and how, which is, talk to your astrologer
yeah.
and commiserate.
I brought a solution though.
Oh,
If you want to
hell yeah.
hear it.
Please solve our problems.
Yeah, the solution though it's not sexy, it's not exciting, and it's not the solution that Aries rising you is going to appreciate, I think. Like whenever I talk to the fire people, they're like, I don't want to hear that. Yeah. But it's about slowing down. So you can have your revolution. Like Maria can get all the gadgets, she can learn everything, she can have all the help in the world, but it's going to be slow. Like she's got to delay the revolution or like take her time. Take your time to destroy the structure. We can't destroy it. We can't go from 0 to 10 in a day like the kids might, the ones who grew up with internet and an iPhone, because we didn't have that when we were kids.
We had payphones and, televisions with no remote controls and commercials.
I remember black and white TV with the rabbit ears, and the tin foil on the rabbit ears. This is like, I'm ready for the old age home over here.
I would be in my bedroom and my father would be in the living room, and he would say we would hear him say in his Italian accent, Maria Antonietta. He didn't care if it was me or my sister who came out of the room, Maria Antonietta, and one of us would come out, put channel 5 on. Put channel. We have the remote control.
I love it. That is so sweet.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well.
But that's the solution, is to slow down.
Slow down.
Because of Saturn. We can't get out of Saturn here as much as we would like to just. I mean, sometimes I conflate Uranus and Jupiter a little symbolically of just the freedom, the open road, possibility. They are different, but in this sense, I tend to run into those, Jupiter kind of vibes.
Yeah, but, and that's interesting because
Saturn's going to pull us back down. We have to respect Saturn, or Saturn's going to.
And Saturn, to be fair, deserves our respect because Saturn is whatever this Saturn is in your chart. It has worked in the past, and because it has worked for you in the past for so long, you're like, wait, I have a proven track record of this Saturn and Aquarius crap that's going on in my life. It's worked, but Uranus is saying, okay, just because it used to work doesn't mean it will work in the future. Uranus is future.
That's so scary.
It is terrifying. It is so terrifying. and I feel like I am going to be, I have that dinosaur feeling. I feel like a dinosaur in my career path as far as technology goes, not, when I'm consulting people and, doing all that, teaching all that, the meat and potatoes of what I do in my craft, I know, and this is certainly not egotistical, but I know that I have.
This is true.
I'm seasoned, right? You and I are seasoned, so we're good at what we do. Okay?
Yeah, you can't be replaced by TikTok or an app or any new app. I don't think AI or an app is ever going to replace someone like you.
And same thing for you, because we are seasoned, and time and experience is irreplaceable. That is value. There's a lot of value there, and you work for that. You earn that over time. So that is the Saturn. But Uranus is not shitting all over that. Uranus is just saying that the way that you're supposed to use your salt and your pepper, your seasoned existence in your Saturn house is through more progressive avenues that are going to be, I guess, recognized in this, new world, new life that we have. And so the key to slowing down is Aliza's advice here. Just slow down.
I think, yeah.
And it'll take the rest of the year for you to reconcile this Saturn-Uranus square in your chart, wherever it is. And I want to actually talk about how this is affecting love, because I think for both of us it is. Here's why I think it is.
Oh my God.
You said, I know. Yeah, I have to, I don't know. I have to bring it up. You said that
I'm grateful.
you said that you believe that Saturn is straddling your fifth and sixth house cusp. And I said Saturn is straddling my 10th, 11th house cusp, right? So for those of you out there who don't know this about the fifth and the 11th house axis, okay, the fifth house is love given. The 11th house is love received. Okay, so giving love, opening your heart, fifth house. Lovability, receiving love, 11th house. And one of my astrology teachers, Noel Till, used to say all the time that having Saturn in the 11th house, which transiting mine 11th house now, but if you have it there natally in your birth chart, you have a significant karmic situation to resolve about lovability issues, being able to receive love, feel loved. Whereas Saturn in the fifth house is being able to open your heart and give love. And so,
you calling me cold? Am I cold?
No, I'm not calling you cold. I'm saying that perhaps this Saturn-Uranus square for us, because we have that connotation of fifth, 11th house dynamic, and then Uranus is hitting that. We are also being asked to break through a potential fear, because Saturn is also fear. A potential fear, a potential insecurity, a potential pattern that has been scripted in our past love life history that maybe now we know that in order to get the love that we may want, or that we know we deserve on some level, we can no longer be in that box, be in that Eight of Swords energy in terms of giving love and receiving love. I don't know. Does that make any sense to your love life situation?
I think you're right on. I'm sitting here nodding my head and making noises. Yeah, I think you're totally right. And also, don't you have a Venus Saturn situation? Because I have a Venus Saturn in my natal. I have the square.
Yes.
And this is a COVID thing too. Like even as a kid or teenager, I was never like, my friends were always my family. I was closer. All this 11th house. I was always closer to friends. Family was what it was. That's also a subject for another time. But over the years, I don't see them that much. Like, we live in different places. I love them, but like, I don't make the effort, like to be together. I'm such an introverted Cancerian homebody. And now after the pandemic and all of that, like, I just want to see these people again. And I think that's part of this manifestation, is making me love better. So yeah, cold.
Cold,
less cold.
We have such opposite existences, because for you, friends were family, and for me, family was friends. I was never a friends person. And that's not good either, right? That's isolating, and look, Saturn, Saturn in the 11th house, Saturn in Aquarius right now. I grew up on a block with all family, and my cousins were my friends. I was not allowed to or encouraged to form friendships outside of the family unit. And there may be a similarity between our cultures in that respect. So it was just, you have this big giant Italian family, Maria, you don't need anybody else. That's what I was taught. And I feel that, and I have been consciously trying, but that becomes isolating, because how do you find love if you're not willing to branch out, if you're not willing to make new connections and make new investments in people? And so that's an interesting, is the opposite that seems to be happening for both of us, but we do both have to break out of those patterns for ourselves.
And I was dating. I was dating while Pluto and Saturn were both, 100% in my fifth, when I didn't have a question, the Capricorn days, Saturn and Capricorn. I was doing pandemic dating, and it was just very Pluto Saturn, shall we say.
So it was dead before it was alive? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it was just bad. You know what? It was just bad. I mean, I know this isn't the topic going back to Capricorn times, but I'm sure people have their own harrowing stories and memories of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, or even just the two of them hanging out in the same part of their chart for however long. Yeah, it was just bad. Bad.
That's the rotting flesh aspect.
Totally, yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And I thought that I was Dr. Frankenstein, and I was gonna, be able to raise the dead.
Yeah, but you can't.
No.
And Okay, so you were trying to raise the dead, and I, over the past 2 years, have been trying to get a commitment. Okay, because I have Uranus, natally on my seventh house cusp, almost exact.
You have a
And
person, or you mean
no,
just like in general?
well, there was a specific person for the past 2 years, but we were never in an official relationship because Uranus, seventh house. And this has been my issue since my divorce. That was the only real commitment I had. And then I had a 9-year part-time relationship that was, I mean, he was loyal, but it was never a normal relationship.
That's that Uranus.
That was Uranus. And then after that, I had 2 other relationships where I never got a commitment. And I've also never been chosen. I've also been attracting love triangles all in everything. That's my Venus Pluto opposition probably too.
I was going to
Venus
say
in the
that's
12th house.
Pluto. But
Yeah,
does the lady want a commitment? Do we have enough
Yes.
time to psychoanalyze you?
Yes,
Okay.
the lady very much wants a commitment, and this may be also part of the Uranus Saturn square. But here's the problem: the lady wants a commitment,
Mm.
but then the lady is choosing to engage with men who
Flight
are not
risks.
going to give her the commitment. And this latest man wouldn't give me a commitment for 2 years, and I fell deeply in love with him. He literally rang my doorbell when I moved into the house and changed my life, and that's how I met him. And I used to joke. I used to say, I'm never going to meet a man unless he rings my front doorbell. Sure enough, I move here, have a whole new life. Man rings my front doorbell. I fall head over heels. He just finished a divorce. He was 8 years younger than me. I was like, look at this hot piece of blah blah blah. And so and we were really, he became part of my everyday life. It was as if we were in a relationship, but we weren't. Okay, I was integrated in his family. He was integrated in my family. He was talked to him every day, saw him almost every single day. It was like a marriage almost, but no commitment, no commitment. I don't want strings, he would say. I don't want attachments. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then
I need to be your personal astrologer. I'm going to elect myself in that role.
Well, wait, let me just tell you, this is like, then literally he just decided in the past 2 months to start entertaining a woman who lives across the street from me. And he is now in a committed relationship with her. After 2 years, he gave me nothing. And after 2 months, they're in a committed relationship and I get to watch it. So that's
heartbreaking.
Oh, this is like nothing. This is like a never ending Venus Saturn, never ending heartbreak. Uranus on the 7th house, sudden endings, never getting a commitment, but I want the commitment. So I have to consciously.
It's your picker.
It's my picker. My picker is way off.
I'm going to ingratiate myself. I'm just telling your entire audience, I'm going to ingratiate myself into your life and I'm going to check in on you. It's like, Maria, let me read you before you make another decision about your love life. I'm just like the guest who wouldn't leave.
The guest who wouldn't leave. You're so cute. Well, I'm making no decisions.
Go away, Aliza, go away.
Now love life is just on pause because this just happened. So I just no. Everything is a no at the moment. But the Saturn-Uranus square, I think, is teaching me about lovability. Why do I think I'm not lovable enough that I keep picking these types of people who are not giving me a commitment, but then they'll give anybody else a commitment?
And do you not see the red flags or feel them, or you see them and you ignore them?
I see them. I've ignored them. I've made excuses for them. Always.
Right.
Always. So what's your issue?
About my
your love stuff.
About my love life?
Yeah.
Oh my God, where do I start? What? Well, I was on a dating app and I was trying to, in a nutshell, I seem to draw to me mean people, critical people who also have good sides.
Okay.
In a little context, transit-wise, I've had Pluto opposing my Mars for years now, and that's the last planet of my group of Cancer planets. But people who there is a sweet side, there's something good there, or I wouldn't talk to them at all, but can be very critical, very judgmental, insulting. And I felt in 2020, it was one after the other with this characteristic. And I could even see them like on Facebook. I would go look and I would see how they're adored by friends and family. And they have all these connections. Like they're not just monsters, like crazy people. Yeah. But something about, I would trigger it in them somehow, or I don't know. But that
Wow.
was a theme. Yeah.
So you're blaming yourself for triggering for waking up a monster? That's inherently got
But you know,
that?
that's a good way to put it though. Waking up a monster.
Yeah, you're okay. So, I mean, this is all obviously
And
projection.
and it would happen over and over. Yeah, definitely. It would happen over and over and over. Or like people, I mean, I usually don't give someone the time of day if they're like, oh, I hate astrology. Like but I still had a brief relationship with someone who had like a little bit of that. Because he had dated an astrologer before and it had gone badly. So he
Hmm.
now like hated all astrologers
Oh,
or something like that. But when I caught that whiff, I should have just, I feel like I should
well,
have totally backed away.
so your picker, you have an expectation of a monster, show like a monster in disguise,
Or I feel
uh,
like I have an expectation of kindness and then it
and then it turns
the exact
into
opposite.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then maybe well, don't you have a Venus Neptune issue, if I'm
I
remembering?
do. I have it multiple times. I have
Uh,
three. I have three. Venus
yes.
12, Venus Neptune,
Mm-hmm.
Pisces ruled descendant. Yeah. I'm basically screwed.
No, don't say that to our audience. No, you're not screwed.
Is
There's
it?
hope for all of us.
Oh,
I
that's
absolutely
your
love.
Sag moon. That's your
It.
Sag moon
All
talking.
right. So there's no hope. We're all screwed. I'm never getting a commitment. You're
No,
always gonna have the
I'm
monster.
good. Well, I can be hopeful for you. I can
Oh,
be hopeful for you.
I could be hopeful for you. So maybe
Okay.
my
All
hope for you and your hope for me will help us in our Saturn-Uranus square journey that includes the love life stuff, will help us break free from these patterns that have kept us in love life prisons.
right.
That is my hope, and that's how I'm circling back to the Saturn-Uranus topic.
Yes.
And in the meantime, everybody listening, I hope that, find your, in your chart, look for where Saturn is in your Aquarius house, look for where Uranus is, your Taurus house. Understand that those are the areas of your life where there's going to be this fight between breaking those patterns that you've worked so hard to build, or breaking down those walls in your life that you have worked so hard to put up that maybe do not serve you anymore. And that may be why you're resisting this transit so much, just like I am.
I probably am too.
Yes, ma'am. I believe we all are. I believe we all are. But there's gold in that, let's call us out on our own crap. We're resisting something that needs to change. Period. That's what Uranus Saturn is telling us. We're resisting something that has to change. And if we don't participate, it's going to change anyway in a harder way, much harder way for us. So, on that note, any parting words of wisdom that you have before we wrap up?
I think that's a perfect place to end, actually. I think that's a brilliant stopping point.
All right, so then
I need say nothing.
you need say nothing except make sure you go buy this woman's book, Aliza Einhorn, A Mystical Practical Guide to Magic. Go check it out on Amazon, pre-order it. And your website again is moonplutoastrology.com, right? For readings.
Yes.
She's awesome. I love you. Thank you for coming back on the show. Come back anytime for any topic. Okay. You just shoot me an email and you're here. And I always wish you nothing but happiness. You're awesome. So thank you guys for watching and for subscribing and supporting the show. And be sure to keep using the power of astrology to grow into your soul. Till next time.
You've been listening to Insightful Astrology with your host, Maria DeSimone. Visit Maria on her website at www.insightfulastrology.com to schedule your personal consultation and learn how to use the power of astrology to grow into your soul.